All right, guys, welcome. We can go and get started here. Who wants to go first with their questions?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay, so I just switched over to Webull from Robinhood about a week and a half ago. So I've been doing my first trades on there. And when you go to buy an option, there's you can pick between like doing a market order or a limit order. So which one would you say we use?
Well, it depends on. Do you know the difference between the two first?
I know market is just gonna buy the stock right then and there at whatever price it's at, and limit you can set it to buy it higher or lower.
Okay. So it really depends on you, right? I mean, with options, I typically like to go for a limit price. Market price, it can really change really quickly, so it can be potentially dangerous.
Okay.
So limit pricing for options is 90% of the time what I would do. Um,
Okay.
with shares, I I set limit orders and or market orders are okay too.
Okay. What do you set the limit price at under order type? Because a lot of times there's been like an alert sent out, and I went to buy it, and I put it under limit price, and it hasn't been it didn't get filled until like a couple minutes later. And by that time, like I would have been like ready to sell it. Like, do you set it at the mid price or at the ask?
Okay, so that's also tricky because if the trend is up, or it really depends on which direction the trend is, right? I mean, if you get into it, or if you're trying to get into a position and you notice that it's going up in price, you might want to set it at the higher price, right? So you get the bid and the ask, and then a midpoint. The ask is going to be the higher end,
Okay,
and the midpoint's typically where it would start you out at. So you want to honestly try to start at the ask price.
so that you'll
Um,
catch it going up.
yeah, and um, honestly, the better time to catch something if you can is when it's going down,
Okay,
because that way it's easier to get a better price. You can kind of let it sit there with the limit order. Whereas if you're trying to catch it as it's running up, you're gonna chase potentially, and that's not a good idea either.
okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can can I add something to that?
Sure.
I don't remember who was telling me. I think it might have been Kyle, but he was just saying about like limit and market orders. He was saying like in volatile markets, like the one we're in, really, it's more dangerous to do market because whatever you do a market order and whatever you click it at, all of a sudden it could go up, a whole 50 cents per contract. So that's in volatile markets. He was saying that's pretty dangerous.
Yeah, that's the kind of first thing that I was saying was, market orders
Right.
are gonna be potentially dangerous because they move quickly and it could go in either direction.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just stick with doing limit orders, and if I end up not catching it, um, like it won't be a big deal. At least I'm not losing a lot of money.
Yeah, and don't chase either. You're gonna put yourself in a bad situation if you end up not catching the price you're looking for and then you try to chase it up. You're gonna be in a bad situation that way too.
Yeah.
Okay, who's next?
Do you post recordings on here? Because I sometimes don't have time to uh, view it all at a given time.
Yeah, I'm starting to. I got this one recording right now. I had one from last week too, from last Sunday that I need to post up as well. I totally forgot to do that. Um, so these are going to be basically the first two recordings, and I completely forgot last Thursday, until like 2/3 of the way through. I'm like, man, I didn't even. I'm sitting here looking at the recorder and never hit record. So, um, but yeah, to answer your question, yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Where will we be able to find those recordings?
So I'm gonna upload them to YouTube, and then I
Okay.
will be posting links in my alert channel.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay, who's next?
I can go next.
Okay.
All right, so I just switched from Robinhood to Thinkorswim, and I'm playing around with like put credit spreads. So I'm like using the on-demand feature that they have. So I'm going back in time and like doing like put credit spreads and playing around. But the problem is, I don't know if this is like something weird that's happening to me, is that even if the stock price expired below like uh, above the put that I sold, I still don't seem to lose my collateral. I'm not sure like what's wrong. Like, is
So
it something that you guys experience?
on demand, you can't let stuff expire. You have to exit it, or you won't see the end results. It'll just kind of go stale and not show you what you're looking for. I mean, because if you let the option expire, it's just gonna sit there and never do anything, basically.
Oh, okay. So it wouldn't work like on demand. Do put credit spread.
Well, it works, but you have to exit the position.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, you
okay.
can't let it expire. So like 5 or 10 minutes before the end of that session, exit it
Oh, okay. And the put credit, like in general, like it'll expire at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day?
at the end of the day.
End of the day. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, who's next?
Hi, I have a question.
Okay.
May I know your prediction for tomorrow's spike, 2000. I mean 500, S&P 500.
Um, I don't really know, to be honest with you. I think it might fall a little bit more, 320. Um, I believe we'll see some red. Maybe even Tuesday we'll see some red. Um, I'm not really sure right now, though. I mean, everything is pretty tough to really figure out what it's going to do. It's just this current market cycle is just very extremely unpredictable compared to his history. So I mean, I don't really know. I think it's going to fall some more, but that's just a guess. It has
Okay.
nothing to do with charting or analysis. That's just my guess, my gut.
O- Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, who's next? Don't be shy. Of
Can I ask one more question?
course.
Yeah. So I watched the lecture that Telio gave on support and resistance. Like I think that was like a week ago, and I think he said that he's gonna be like giving another lecture on how to like play the watch list and like go over some examples of like previous scalps that he did and like why did he enter those trades. So did he like give that lecture or is he working on it I'm not sure.
I don't know. He probably has not. He'll normally let everybody know when the next one is. So I would be on the lookout for that. Typically, I think they're on Saturdays, and I didn't see him do anything this Saturday, so I think you're good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Who's next?
So I've got a question about how do you think Google is going to react in tomorrow's market?
Um, Negatively, maybe.
Okay,
I really don't know. I mean, like I said, the market right now is just there's no way to predict anything in this market, especially. I mean, the market in general is pretty hard to predict, right? I mean, I can base stuff off of support and resistance, or good or bad earnings, or news, but just generalized stuff, it's literally impossible to tell what it's going to do.
makes sense.
Google's right in the middle of its price range, so it could literally do anything. I mean, it showed some red after hours. The market trend has been down lately, but Google pumped. It looks like the day before, or was it the 19th? Is it? Yeah, I guess. Is that right? Let me see.
I think last Friday it was, or Thursday,
Thursday.
some
Yeah.
Thursday.
So that was for earnings, looks like. And I mean, it beat earnings, but the market's down. I think Amazon beat earnings, Apple beat earnings, and everything's down. So I think it's pure election season, and the market doesn't really care at all what anything's doing because it all wants to go down.
Makes sense. Everybody's pulling out, trying to
Yep.
cover their losses, make sure that they don't lose too much.
Either that or they're taking profits, right? I mean, Google ripped pretty hard.
Yeah, true.
Looks like $200 basically.
Yeah, I took a good amount of profits on Thursday, but I also held another call for 11.6, expecting a potential rise after the election. So I was just seeing if I should play that for tomorrow or if I should hold out on that till like Friday and see if it has another pump after the election.
Well, I'll tell you this, never ever hold an option until expiration.
Okay,
Never. You need to get out of that as fast as you can with profit. And honestly,
makes sense.
you should have gotten something that was at least two weeks out. You got to give yourself time for the market to do its thing, right? You can't try to get an early expiration and then just hope that it's going to pump, because the chances of that happening are not in your favor, right? So at least if you give yourself additional time, it's not going to be it could potentially not be a losing play, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if depending on whoever wins, the market could pump hard Wednesday, but we got all this like these states that are saying, "Oh, we're going to count ballots for 3 days, 6 days, 9 days after the election," and it just you know, if you're playing the market based off of the election, you're trying to beat the market. And I always tell everybody, don't beat the market, play the market, right? Because if you try to beat the market, it's going to beat you. It always does. Um, don't be in front of the tsunami, ride the back of it, right? Okay. Who's next? A lot of people in here. I see new people. Um, don't be shy to answer or ask, very noobish questions if that's what you think they are. I would guarantee that someone else probably has the same question.
I got a question.
Okay.
What how do you go about finding your resistance and support lines?
So I'll start at the 30-day chart. I don't like Google. So this one. So I'll start at the 30. I'll pick the lowest number. I'll draw a line. Um, actually got stuff already drawn on this one. Let me clear all my stuff. So I'll start here. I'll draw a line with the lowest number, and typically, this is at a really big low, so um, you'll see what I mean in a second. So I'll go back to the left. So I'll go out further. So I'll go to a 60, and what I'm looking for is either confirmation on this point or a lower level below this point. Okay, so you see
I don't
there's
think you're sharing your screen.
oh, oops, sorry about that. That would help, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, there we go.
Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, we're good.
All right, let me start over. So I'll start at the 30-day, and mind you, I don't do option buying. I do option selling and shares. So my strategy compared to Tilio's strategy is going to be different. Okay, so how you do your stuff, your analysis on, whatever type of analysis you're doing, it's going to be dependent upon the type of strategy and trading style that you have. So for my strategy, I start at 30, I pick the lowest number, right, and I draw a line. So what I'll do is I'll go to the 60 and I look for something below it or the same level that confirms that. There's nothing. So now I'll go to the 90. Again, there's nothing. So I'll go to the 180. Now we got something. All right, so then I'll basically try to go right on top of this line, but all the way over. And I'll draw it out again. Okay, so that kind of gives me a section right here of some support. All right, and even this one could be considered support, and this one. Okay, so I think we're at a pretty good support level for this particular stock. Um, so then after I determine that where we are is a good support level or somewhat of a good support level, I start looking for the next level below it, right? So it would be this one, somewhere right here. Right, that's going to be the next level. Um, and same thing with resistance, right? So let's say I started at the 30. Well, actually, I'll go back to the 30 here. All right, so highest point. I do the bodies, not the wicks. Okay, so highest point on the bodies will be right there. I'll go back to the 60. Okay, here's another high point. So I'll try to go all the way over best I can. So looks like it's kind of right there. Then go to the 90, nothing. 180, not really much except for this point. well, I don't even know if I can't even call that a resistance level. All right, so the way I determine this, so let's say I'm going to buy shares. I'd say right now is a good entry for this stock. Um, and what I would do is I got a budget for how much I'm willing to put into this play. I'll take half of it since it's already at a pretty good low. I'll take half, get in now, and then I'll put a limit order for the next half down here at 35.28. Okay, and then let's just assume for a second that it initiates both. So let's say it is down here somewhere and it starts bouncing off. What I'm now going to look for is an exit point, right? So my first resistance is going to be this level right here. And the way I look at this is typically the most recent resistance. Okay, so this one's going to be next, this one, all right, and then this one. Now, as I draw these 3 or 4 exit points, I'm going to also go to the left and see if I can find confirmation, which is right here. That's a good confirming level that this is resistance. Okay, and then I'll look for this next one. So looks pretty weak, but that's about it. So let me just draw that. That's a weak resistance level. And then the next one here really doesn't have much except for this point. And that could be a good resistance level, honestly, because it's strong. It reverses a trend. So do you guys understand how I'm drawing this out, why I'm drawing it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. One other thing I'd like to point out is there's 2 different forms of support and resistance. You got weak support and strong support. You got weak resistance and you got strong resistance. Okay, and the one way to determine weak resistance is let's just look at this section here. Oops, I'm gonna I guess draw a square on it so you guys can see exactly, or a rectangle, whatever it ends up being. This right here. Okay, so it hits resistance and then starts falling, gains support, falls, gains support, falls. This is weak support because it gets some support and drops again, gets some support, drops again. So those are 2 really weak support levels. I can even honestly say that this level here to the left is another weak support level, even though it stopped the downtrend. It did a 50% retracement, fell some more. Let's see. Support, strong support is going to be this area here, this oval that my mouse is hovering over. So basically, downtrend. It's a short-term downtrend, but there's a downtrend, and it stops the downtrend, removes the downtrend, goes upwards, breaches the previous 2 strong resistance levels. That is what I would call a strong support, which is where we're at right now. Right, this level here is a strong support level, in my opinion, based off of this one over here, because it stopped a downtrend, created an uptrend, broke 2 strong resistance levels. And you can see weak resistance all over this. Giovanni, can you please mute your mic? Thank you. So I would say this is a fairly strong resistance level, but not as much. I mean, it's strong, but it's not super strong because the fact that the stock fell and then started going up again and breached it. Okay, what I mean super strong is it hits a point and then doesn't go back above it. You guys understand how I got all that? How I determined weak and strong?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
I think it was, I've been looking at so many different ways to to our resistance and support lines, and some people are just so trying to be so exact with where they place their lines and stuff. And I've seen so many different techniques and drawing them, and I think I'm overthinking a little bit too much. Maybe. I mean,
Well,
this makes a lot more sense.
yeah, and the way I approach support and resistance is I try to get an average, so I eyeball it because you're not ever going to be able to pinpoint it. And if you can
Right.
eyeball it and then play it off of that point, especially with shares, this works so well with shares because even if it goes down, it's not a problem. I'll wait.
Mhm.
If it hits another support level, I'll buy some more. But you know, if you average it out, you get a better result versus trying to pinpoint something.
Sure. Sure.
Okay. You got any more questions?
I don't think so. I'm gonna let someone else go and see if I have any further questions on that.
Okay. Who else has questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
Hi, gentlemen. I know that there are not a lot of women in this Discord, but I did want to make mention that I'm relatively new to trading, and I've been studying quite a bit. There's just a shit ton of information, and I guess I want to ask what your uh, best route of advice is as far as following or beginning my route. I mean, I'm 2 weeks in and I'm not totally novice as far as the concepts are concerned, but what is the best approach? I just transferred from Robinhood to Webull, and I guess I'm still in the process of studying. So the charts and so forth are still ahead of me a little bit, but coming to understand the terminology and all of that, I have that down. But going forward and actually making, and I have made some day trades prior to finding you guys along the way, and I feel pretty confident in that concept. But going forward, what do you think I should really be focusing on as far as analysis, technical or otherwise?
So are you doing option buying and
So I wasn't really doing, I bought some shares initially just to get my feet wet and have some things on deck that I was just going to hang on to and hold on to while, I'm still studying for actual options trading. So I got onto Robinhood, bought some stocks of Apple for my kids, and found you guys and really have started to study the options trading. So I really haven't done a lot of that. I have done some, and then I hit that marker saying, hey, you can't trade. You don't have enough money to be a day trader, or you're going to be marked as a day trader, and blocked on Robinhood. So I stopped there, and I'm now going to start using Webull just
okay.
because I've been following you guys pretty regularly now.
So one thing that I will say before I say anything else is with Webull, you're going to have to make sure that you have a cash account or else they're going to block you too.
Oh yeah, I do have the cash account.
Okay, good.
I was approved. I understand. Well, in one of the chats earlier, I saw that somebody was having an issue with getting approved for the options. I was approved for the options trading. So
So
I'm actually waiting for the money to clear and settle.
what I would suggest as far as um, learning or moving forward rather is don't trade options yet. Give yourself
Okay,
a lot more time. Shares is a better way to go. You're not going to lose money necessarily. I
yeah,
mean, you lose when you decide you lose with shares. And
fair.
with shares, at least you can make mistakes and still get your money back and not
Right,
just be at a total loss, right? Um, you also have infinite amount of time. Just make sure that whatever you're trading with shares is a good company, somebody that's been around a while, someone that's not affected by COVID or the whole COVID thing.
right. Hmm.
Moving forward with that, what I would say is the core of every successful trader, in my opinion, is going to be learning support and resistance. Once you
Okay,
determine how to learn that, that's going to put you on a level where you will start to have confidence in what you're seeing as far as the charting goes.
right.
Okay. Um, Something else I would suggest you learn very, very intimately is going to be the option chain.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at my screen, I have what works for me on options. Everybody has what works for them, uniquely. But for me, um, IV or implied volatility,
Right.
probability of in the money and out of the money, theta, delta, open interest, and volume, along with bid-ask spread, is what works very well for me.
Okay.
As far as that goes, I would say, let's just assume for a second that this is exactly how you want yours set up. You need to understand who's making the bid price, who's making the ask price, and how that relates to the option pricing. Also understand what does open interest mean and what does volume mean and what's the difference between the two.
Okay.
What is theta? That's also going to be important for you, and it's not extremely important, but it's important to understand the concept as far as how it affects you once you get into a position. Um,
How
and
it would affect if the option price goes up in either direction, right?
no, so theta is just a decay.
That's that's the decay. I'm thinking about the delta, of course. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. And I mean, I don't even personally use the delta for that. Like, I use delta for probability of out of the money, right? So I don't even use delta for how much it's going to move in value once it hits this number. I always say if you buy at the money and the stock goes in the money, or your option goes in the money, it's going to become exponential, right? It's just going to start ticking up much faster as far as value. Um, let's see. Lost my train of thought. Oh, why or what level of implied volatility do you need to, or do you hope to have before entering a trade? Like understanding why it needs to be at a certain level before you get into a position, because that's going to drastically affect the option contract pricing. Um, Also, determine, follow a stock, know how it moves, know its price action.
Yeah, I remember you saying that coming to understand one stock versus trading a bunch of stocks.
Yes, and that's going to help you also understand where is the implied volatility, like what is its price action basically, for lack of a better term. Um, and on my chart here, I have historical implied volatility, which is the red in the top left, and current implied volatility, which is yellow. Excuse me. Um,
Right.
the red one is going to tell you basically over the last 252 trading days what the current IV rank is. Okay, so this one basically says 65% chance that this stock's implied volatility is going to go up. Okay, but if
Yes.
if it were at 85%, then it's got an 85% chance of coming down, right? Um, Now, like with Tesla, for example, Tesla typically travels anywhere from 70 to 140, right? That's its range. So, and as you can see here, the IV rank in red is at 26%. So, 74% chance this stock or this implied volatility for this stock is going to go up, right? So it's actually kind of pretty low. Uh,
Hmm.
it's a relative number because not every stock is 0 to 100 and that's it. There's stocks
Right.
out there that hit 200, 300, 400. So it's all relative. So you just really get kind of know the quote unquote price action of implied volatility for said particular stock. So I know that was a lot to take in. Um, and really, options trading is very complex.
Yeah.
So starting with shares, build a strategy with shares, get
Yeah.
confident in your trading and what you're looking at, and then you can transition into options. That's what I recommend everybody do, because if you start from not really knowing much and then jump right into options, it's like a baby coming out of the womb and trying to run.
Yeah,
It's
essentially that's what happened. I bought those initial shares of Apple, traded, did some options trading with Apple, made money during the day for a few days, and I had to quit just because I wasn't trying to get marked. And then I made one trade on that. I was making money, nominal money. I mean money nonetheless every day. And then it turned into trying to, ramp it up a little bit, and then I got my head knocked off. So yes, I agree. So I'm just not necessarily going back to square one, but I'm definitely moving in the direction of learning more about it. But thank
yeah,
you. Sorry,
yeah, you're welcome.
digress. It make it a remedial thing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, just set rules for yourself, right? I mean, profit targets, percentages rather. Um, take the percentage profit no matter what.
Yeah, that's what I'm becoming more familiar with now. Because if I actually just stayed in it where I was at, I was making about 100 to 150 bucks a day. Like, what are the real numbers I'm looking to make? So yeah, all that matters. All right, thanks again, Hostel.
You're welcome. And that's a good return. 100 $150 a day. That's a great return. Because if you think about $100 a day for every trading
Exactly.
day, that's $25,000 in a year just in
Yeah.
trading. So
Yeah.
okay. All right. So yeah,
Appreciate it.
you're welcome. Who else has questions? And in case you need a refresher on that, um, I'm gonna post this video once I've finished this session, along with last week's video, last Sunday's that I recorded, so that if you can't remember everything that I said, I've got it on record, so you'll be able to go back and re-listen to it. Somebody had a question?
Um,
What do you?
what are,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. You first. You first.
Okay. Hi, Hostel. I was just wondering, what do you think is going to happen today and on Tuesday, since Tuesday is election, right?
I think it's going to be red again.
For 2 days.
Yeah, it might not be badly. It could be. Who knows?
And
I think some stocks might get hit pretty hard. Some might take small hits. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm just guessing. I have no idea at all whatsoever what's going to happen.
it's just that you might know more about it. For example, the last election, something must have happened last election.
Well, yeah, I mean, as soon as they determined that Trump was the winner, or as soon as they started realizing he was going to win, futures went green by 800 points within 2 hours. It was 800 points green, and then the market just started going up after that. So I can tell
I
you,
do.
if he gets reelected, expect that to happen.
Well, I do remember. I think I was watching news and somebody says a lot of stocks like Dow, Spy were tanking. Was maybe I don't remember because I remember somebody saying that because it's such an unexpected result that a lot of people disillusioned, so they sold a lot of stocks on that day. Would that happen? You think? I
No,
mean,
not at
not.
all. Um, I remember hearing the futures going up. Let's see what it looked like as far as election day. So 5 years, 16 November. Yeah, I mean right here. I mean, if you see this, if you're looking at my screen, um, I can't really get on the exact day. It goes from 31st, which is, I mean, if you can see it here, I'll tell you what. Let's zoom in. Um, right here, October 31st was the very bottom, right? And then at some point between this week, from the 7th, from the 31st to the 7th, it starts pumping, and it just continues, right? I mean, you see this first wick, that's what the futures did. I mean, it ripped hard. Unfortunately, I'd have to redo a custom chart to really see exactly. I guess I could.
Yeah, that's one of the things about Thinkorswim. I don't know how to zoom in this.
All right, let's see here. So 31st. Did I get the right year? This is 2016. Is this 2016? I think this is 2016. I mean, it's really hard to say, to be honest. This is the week right here. This is the Electron week. I mean, it's hard to see, right? I mean, I try to do daily charts here. Let me see if I can. I can't go. I can't go to hourlies, unfortunately, so I can't tell you. I mean, probably could with tick or range or something like that. Um, I just remember 100% hearing every news organization pretty much in complete disbelief that Trump was winning, and they were like, futures are up 800 points. Or initially, they're like, oh, futures are up 200 points. And then 20 minutes later, futures are up 400 points. And then an hour later, futures are up 700 points. And it just kept climbing. Um, I don't remember um, the following days after. For some reason, it's a blur. Um, I can
Yeah,
tell you with certainty, if Trump wins, we're going to have a bull market. We're going to break highs, all-time highs. We're going to break 30,000 for the Dow. We're going to break, I don't know, what's the all-time highs for this, 358. So we're going to break 3,500 or 360 for the SPY. 100% guaranteed. I fully believe that.
what about what if Biden wins?
I don't know. It's a wild card. It could the market could probably care less who wins, but they do know that what they're getting with Trump. They've had 4 years. They know what they're going to get. Um, with Biden, are we going to get Obama or are we going to get Kamala Harris? Right? The Obama was more centrist, in my opinion, a little left leaning. Um, I think Kamala Harris is very left leaning. So it just really depends, right? I mean, Biden came from Obama. So at a minimum, I would expect Obama policies. Um, but who knows how far left he's going to go? Because a lot of his base and support are progressives and socialists. So I mean, the whole if you look on his website, he basically has the Green New Deal on there, and that that's pretty radical, right? And that's a policy pushed forward by socialists in our government. So
Well, if the Green New Deal passes, that's going to affect a lot of automobile industry, isn't it?
it's going to affect all
Factory.
kinds of industries, everything. There isn't anything it won't affect.
So Do you think buying put would be a good idea at that point?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what to expect with Biden. Like I said, I don't know if he's going to be a pushover to the radical left, or is he just going to stand his ground and be like, no, we're going to do centrist Obama policy. I mean, and like I said, Obama policy I think is a little left leaning. It's there are some things that are I wouldn't call a lot of what Obama did was is radically left, but it's a little more than leaning left, right? Um, so I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. I should just I should just sit on my money then maybe.
Yeah, you should wait and see what happens instead of trying to beat the market. Play the market. We've had this
Yeah.
conversation before. Stop trying to beat it. You're gonna lose your money.
So yeah, I mean I don't do swing trades in general, but I just want to get a sense of what's I just want to know if I see the market dipping tomorrow, I'll know, yeah, this is because of pre-election. I mean, I'm pretty sure it would dip, yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know we know everybody knows what Trump's going to give to the country as far as the economy and the markets. We know what's going to happen, but we don't know what's going to happen with Biden.
Yeah, I know. I don't
It's
know.
just not
It's not-
like I know I at a minimum know what we're going to get from Biden, but I don't know what the maximum we're going to get from Biden. With Trump, I know minimum and maximum, if that makes sense. We just had 4 years of Trump, so
I don't really see Biden as like a radical uh socialist. I mean, he's a stakeholder in the market also after all, right?
well, I mean, like I said,
So
he was with Obama, and I think Obama was center left. Um, there are some things that were heavily left. There's some things that are moderately left. Um, I can't think of really anything that was right for with Obama. But like I said, they've signed up with very radical people. Like um, the Green New Deal is basically AOC. Um, he has what's the guy that Beto O'Rourke? He's gonna make him. I forget the position, but basically he's going to be in charge of gun control, and that's very radical. I mean that's in our Constitution. It's a right that we all have to have weapons to defend ourselves, and that's a radical left policy. They want to get rid of people's rights to bear arms, right? I mean, it's that's just a radical policy. The Green New Deal is very radical. They want to get rid of airplanes. They want to get rid of gas cars. They want to get rid of coal plants. Um, they want to get rid of natural gas. They want to get rid of oil refineries, and they want to replace it with things that aren't the most efficient stuff just yet. I mean, in my opinion, it takes time for these types of things like wind power, solar power, water power, whatever. It takes time for this stuff to really do well, right? I mean, it's taken Tesla 10 years to have a positive year. This year, they've had 3 positive quarters. It's taken them 10 years, right? So it takes time. And, they want to, they want to radically change those types of things. They want to radically go after guns. And I don't know if you think that's left radical or not, but I do, right? So
I'm just thinking about, if they're gonna do all these radical changes for, in favor of tech companies, that might be a good, entry point for us.
Favor of what kind of companies?
Companies, electronic vehicle companies, EVs.
Well,
If they're gonna regulate.
yeah, I mean it'll be very positive for them, for sure. Because if you get rid of gas cars and you get rid of everything, I mean, it's not just vehicles, right? We're talking the entire economy. Every building gets changed, every piece of transportation gets changed, every house that gets power, the electricity that's produced from whatever produces it gets changed. I mean, we're talking an entire top to bottom change. That's why I call it radical, because it's not just one industry, it's across the board, right? That's radical. It's everything. It's not just automobiles. It's not just coal plants. It's not just airplanes. You get what I'm saying?
I get you. It just I was thinking maybe right. You're right. I mean, if they do implement these radical policies, maybe the whole market would drop, and it might affect the company that are rising, such as Tesla. Maybe
Yeah, I mean,
I
like
don't
I said, it's gonna. I believe it will benefit them, right?
in the long run, maybe.
But what kind of policies would they implement as far as, I mean, would they increase EV and solar power and wind power um, grants? Will they subsidize that, right? Or do they leave it as is? If they leave it as is, I don't see EV being too much of a benefit either, right? They need to be able to subsidize all of these things, put money into the EV stuff, for example, and solar panels, for example, for companies like those that, like Tesla, let's just say Tesla, since it has solar panels and EVs. Um, if the government decides, let's say Biden gets in, the government says, "Hey, look, we're gonna get rid of coal plants, we're gonna get rid of natural gas, and we're gonna subsidize solar power, wind power, and electric cars," then Tesla is gonna fly, 100%.
You
But
need
if
coal
they
to make wind turbines, so I mean,
Right, so I mean, we
you
could.
can't get. It's impossible. There's no way. Like the transition can't be that quick. So it's just
Well, that's why I call it radical, because
they're just trying to get votes. That's all it is. Like
right, and that's why I call it radical, because it's radical thinking, but reality is so far from it, right? I mean,
yeah, it's impossible.
you
You
just
need
can't.
fossil fuels to even keep the turbine going. So
Oh yeah, I mean it is impossible. It is. I think they're rushing it. They're rushing it too much. I don't know why they're doing this, but I just think about the tech company a lot. I mean if they're not gonna get subsidized, then I would just assume they're gonna go down with the rest of the market. So that's a bad thing if you implement these radical policies. I mean, well, obviously it's gonna damage like a lot of things in real life. I'm just thinking more of the market.
Well, again, like I said,
Specific.
ride the
Yeah,
wave.
yeah,
Don't try to get in front of it.
yeah, just play the changes. Like you can't really focus on the future
yeah,
too much.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know anything, but I'm just gonna sit and observe. I just want to know a reason behind these things. Maybe if I can find the reasons for all these changes in the market,
Well, like I
I
told
might
you,
be able to.
I've been doing this for 12 years, and I
Yeah,
still don't know the reasons. So you let me know when you figure it out.
yeah. I mean, probably not in a million years. I don't know.
That's why I say, instead of trying to beat the market, you gotta play it. That's all.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm just a little bit anxious.
And don't be emotional either.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Was it Miguel that had the question?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on cannabis talks and the future in cannabis and all that?
I think the whole entire country needs to be cannabis legal before cannabis stocks really take off. Um, one company you need to watch out for, actually two. What's this one? Philip Morris and Altria. Okay, both of these are going to play a major role in cannabis when the time comes. Oh
Can you
man,
say their names again, please?
uh, MO, which is Altria, and Philip Morris, which is PM, and that's at support. It's just like
What are you
MO.
thinking? Philip Morris is just gonna move into the weed industry and move away from cigarettes?
They're going to do both. They're gonna create like they're gonna manufacture weed and they're gonna continue to manufacture cigarettes. Cigarettes ain't going out of business anytime soon, in my opinion. People are gonna constantly smoke the rest of their lives.
Yep.
So I don't see that changing. And all I see is them adding to their um, plethora of products, right? And just imagine the amount of products you can make out of marijuana, all the different strains. Imagine. Um, there will be a trick though. They're going to have to find a way to preserve it so that when it goes out into stores, it's not going to go bad. Like, sometimes you'll get if you go out if you buy cigars um, or even cigarettes, the tobacco can be stale. Like I've broken open blunts before, cigar blunts, and they just crumple, turn to dust. All right, you can't split it down the middle properly or any of that. So that tells you that it's stale, very stale. Um, so they're gonna have to find a way basically they'll probably just vacuum seal everything, I guess. I mean, that would be what I would assume. Um, but I would say these two companies, think of it like big oil, right? With all the EV stuff and all the renewable stuff starting to happen, you think big oil is just going to lay down and roll over? No way. They're going to find so for decades they've just been buying off the competition and then just sweeping it on the rug and continuing to sell cars like GM or Ford or whatever the case. They're in bed with Exxon and whoever else, and they're like, let's keep the oil game going. And in the United States, we can manufacture cars, and those cars take up so much oil. So whether it be the physical oil that goes into the engines, oil that goes into the tires, oil goes into the products of the vehicles, whether it be plastics or whatever the case, it's a consumption economy, and they know it. Um, right now, we're in the precipice of the era, in my opinion, and big oil knows it, and they can't. They've known it for a long time. They can't stop it forever. They prolong it as long as they can. Now it's getting to a point where other companies are coming out and they're manufacturing electric vehicles, and they know that their whole gasoline and oil industry, just in consumption as far as vehicles, is going away. Right? They're not going to roll over. They're going to find a way to get into the market somehow and be a major player. So my point is Philip Morris and Altria are going to do the same thing with marijuana industry once it becomes worth their time. And they're not trying to stop it like big oil trying to stop EVs, right? Because it's not a threat to cigarettes. People are still going to smoke tobacco. But once they can manufacture it and distribute it across the whole entire country, it's worth their time. And then watch for them to start doing massive manufacturing for marijuana plants and selling marijuana cigarettes and marijuana blunts and whatever else. Like they'll probably even manufacture to the point where they're going to put flour into vac bags and then send it to all the gas stations. You know what I mean? Like here's some rolling papers if that's the route you want to go, right? So I would look for all of the above as far as that goes. So Miguel, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was perfect. And also, have you heard of EXO and what's his name? Let's see. Just a sec. Oh, Planet 13.
Yeah, in Vegas.
Yep.
Yeah. What about them?
No, what's your thoughts on them or whatever?
Oh, well, what's
Yeah.
the ticker symbol?
Hold up.
I didn't even know they had a ticker symbol. I didn't even know they were on the stock market.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I don't know that much. I'm a sole beginner,
Right.
but I started looking into that, so I just wanted to bring it up.
Let me see. Um, oh, it's OTC, so it's not even on the main market just yet. PLNHF. Oh, they've actually been on the market for a while. I mean, so I've been to Planet 13 when I went to Vegas. Um, they have a unique system, and I'll just explain my experience, right? Um, Now, by no means am I a marijuana smoker. I don't buy it. I don't get high. But when I went to Vegas, I got some and I got high, right? And you walk in, they get your ID, make sure you're of age, sign a waiver or something, and then as you're going in through, um, I guess it's like the ticketing area, so they give you like a little ticket and you walk through. It's like the same thing as like getting on a train or something. You walk through the thing that spins around your hips, and you give the ticket. And there's cops right there. You walk in, and they have everything you can think of under the sun. They got, I mean, there isn't a single thing they don't have, right? And I think they also manufacture their own plants. Um, as far as process, um, like let's say shatter or dabs or butter or whatever the case you want to. What do they call it? Um, crap, I forget what they call it. There's a word for all of that. Um,
Like wax,
no,
CBD oil.
So wax.
no, there's a word for all of those things. I'll think of it, but basically, I don't think they manufacture those types of things in house. I think they just.
Concentrates.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for. Uh, so I don't think they manufacture the concentrates. I think they get that from outside. So they'll send the production plants to them, and then it'll turn into a concentrate, and then they'll send it back, and that's why it costs more money, right? Um, but basically, you go to a little kiosk, you go in, you kind of look up what you want. Uh, no matter what it is, there's a menu for it. Um, Bugwin, can you please mute your mic?
Oh shit. How do I fucking mute myself?
Thank you. Um, and you basically just wait in line until somebody calls you, and they sell all kinds of products. I mean, and it doesn't even, it can be something that you use the main product for, right? Um, their system's really nice. The way they go through everything, they have like a one-on-one sessions with people to teach you about whatever you want or answer any questions. So as far as the company goes, I think they have a pretty good solid business. Um, I don't know anything about their profits. I mean, looking at their recent earnings, let's see. It's still not profitable, right? Even though it's the busiest out of all of the ones that I went to. I mean, because that's kind of a thing when you go to Vegas now. It's like, let's go to all the weed shops, right? I probably went to 20 just to see, right? Just to see the difference between them, which ones are for the locals and which ones are for the tourists. And Planet 13 was one of the top ones for the tourists. So they're expensive, but locals don't go to those because they're not interested in the same thing the tourists are interested in, right? They got a set mindset, and tourists will go in there and buy one of everything if they can. Um, so that's just my experience. As far as the company, I mean, they got a long ways to go, right? They can't sell across the whole entire country until the United States of America federal government takes marijuana off the class 1 designation, which is the same thing as heroin and coke, ecstasy, and all that stuff. Until it gets removed off of that, that's the first step. Second step is to decriminalize it. Third step is to actually make it legal federally. And when it becomes federally legal, the states, I mean, it's going to be hard for the states to continue to say it's illegal, right? I mean, it's kind of the same concept with the Second Amendment. You can have guns in every state, but the laws are different for each state. Some are a lot more strict than others, but it's still legal, right? So maybe that helps you understand the future of, you know, cannabis.
Yeah, totally, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay. Who's next?
Can I go next?
Of course.
Yeah. So, you talked about you being an option seller. So, do you sell contracts that are like 1 to 2 months out of expiration, or do you think it's too dangerous? And like, what do you look for when selling option? Like, what is the strategy that you follow?
Okay. So I normally do 30 to 45 days out for like credit spreads, iron condors, iron butterflies. For cash puts or covered calls, I'll do 30 to 60 days. Uh, 50 days is like perfect. For cash puts, actually, the perfect time to get in that is right before the closest month expiration is about to happen. So let's say, for example, right now, let's just assume tomorrow is, or the day after is the expiration of November. I'd want to get December's expiration, right? That's perfect time because it basically it's going to be about 45 to 50 days. Could actually be 40 to 50, but that's about the right time frame as far as cash puts. Credit spreads, debit spreads, 30 to 45 days. You need theta decay. Um, Iron condor, same thing. Iron butterflies, same thing. I think iron butterflies you can probably go a little bit closer in time, maybe 20 to 30 days. It's still kind of risky though. Um, Calendars with leaps, those are as far out as you can afford a leap, and then you sell calls against it every month or every contract that you can get basically. And you do it based off of resistance levels for that one. Cash puts are support levels, covered calls are resistance levels, calendars with leaps, which is basically long-term call options, and then you sell covered calls against it. Um, when you're doing option selling, you need to sell with high implied volatility so you get the most premium for the contract, and you want implied volatility to fall. That's important. Um, let's see what else.
But isn't it like safer to sell like contracts that are like closer to
No,
expiration? Oh, okay.
because if you get into a position that you're shorting and then it goes completely against you, it's going to take a week or two. So if you're doing a week or two contract, you leave yourself zero time to get back out of the money, right? Because when you're shorting, you want to be out of the money, and when you're going long, which is basically buying naked calls and puts, you want to go in the money, right? So you want to be out of the money, and you got to give yourself time. And the beauty is the longer time frame you give yourself, the more chances the stock is going to swing in the direction you need it to in order to get out of it with profit. The only thing you do need to get right is the trend. Which direction is it going? And if it's going up, do a position based off of the support level. If the trend is down, do a position based off of resistance levels. But if you're getting into something that's trending up and then you do a resistance level, you better get out as quick as you can, because there's a good chance it's going to go against you and then go right past your strikes and never come back. So keep that in mind if you're shorting. You also get more premium the little further out you go. And that's really important. It's not worth it for some stuff. I mean, if I get a $200 premium for Netflix for a month contract versus a week contract, I might get $50 premium, right? And if the stock moves 10% off $50, I'm getting $5. If it moves 10% off of $200, I'm getting 20. Right? So
Oh,
the money is there's just more money in it, right?
yeah. The reason I'm asking is because I saw this guy on YouTube who was like doing credit spread, put credit spreads, and he was doing it like on a weekly expiration, and he was going like far away out of the money, and like pretty much, uh, like he's saying that there's no chance, for instance, like Apple is gonna reach this price by like 2 days or 3 days. So I figured it was like a safe strategy to use
I mean,
as a
you
beginner.
can, right? You can do that, but there's not hardly any money in that. The further out you go, the least amount of money you get, right? I like to sell credit spreads at the money, so I get the most premium.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, you can do that, but in today's market with the volatility, number one, when you're doing a short-term expiration, you can only go so far out of the money before you don't get anything, right? And the market swings so wildly right now that you could be far out of the money and then it hits it, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, that's why I like longer term positions, because you can get at the money, you can get a bigger premium, and then when it does one nice swing one day, you can get out with 10 to 20% return. And it's usually within a
So
week.
you don't let your spreads expire. You just get out once you see profit.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, never ever let them expire unless you're in like a normal market and the trend is up and it's never coming back down. Then I can see that strategy that you were talking about working. But in this current market, that's dangerous, because as you can
Yeah.
see, we'll hit highs and then we'll go right down the lows. So
Yeah, I'm a beginner to trading, so I decided not to trade like until the election is over. Like after
virtual trade
for
options,
me, you could
yeah.
say.
I mean, you it was you that said you were doing on demand, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was doing
keep
that.
doing on demand. It's good practice, I promise. Just don't let it expire. Try what I'm talking about. Get something that's trending up. Sell a put credit spread on it for the next month, um, or whatever the closest monthly contract is, and it needs to be 30 to 45 days out. So actually, any contract that's 30 to 45 days out that's a monthly, don't do weeklies on credit spreads. You need open interest. You need liquidity. Unless you're doing SPY or Tesla or Apple, one of these really highly liquid ones, you could potentially do weeklies, but I like monthlies because the open interest is much higher.
When you say monthly, do you mean like 30 to 45 days to expiration? Because like on my think or swim, like for most of the contract, it says weekly.
What um, ticker are you looking at?
Facebook. I was looking at Facebook.
So if you look on my screen, are you looking at my screen?
Yeah.
Yellows are weeklies, non-yellows are monthlies.
Oh, okay. Okay, I get it now.
So in this scenario, you'd want to do something on December 18th for a credit spread.
Okay.
Right. That's what I would look for. So December 18th, another 2 days, you're at 45. 38 to 42 is the sweet spot, in my opinion.
38 to 40.
Because that basically
Right.
gives you 5 or so weeks, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
And typically swings in the market last 2 to 3 weeks a piece. Right. So like right now we got a
Right.
downward swing. If you get into a position right now and you're at support and it keeps going and it goes for a week or two, or it kind of just hovers underneath your strike for a week or two, you've got another 2 to 3 weeks for it to come back out of the money. And most of the
Yeah.
time it's going to. So that's why I always say get it at the money, give yourself time, get it in the right position as far as which direction a trend, and you should be fine. You could probably win 90 to 95% of those trades.
Yeah.
I've done 50 or 60 just on this Discord when I was doing credit spreads, and I lost 1 or 2.
Why aren't you doing them now? Like
I
stop
changed
both of them.
I changed my strategy.
Oh.
Because most of my money is in Roth accounts, and I decided that doing options in my retirement Roth accounts is a bad idea. So I stopped doing credit spreads there. I was doing it in my margin TD Ameritrade margin account. But since then, I've decided I'm going to do shares and build up my account, and then I'll get back into credit spreads. And I want to do scalping also. So I need to get a margin account to scalp right now until I get to $25,000, $30,000. Then I can go back to a margin account and do credit spreads and scalp. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. That was super helpful.
You're welcome. Don't get me wrong. I love credit spreads, especially at resistance. Like I like to go long on shares, but I have no way. Like I don't like shorting shares. That's dangerous. Right? I like call credit spreads for that. So quick money from resistance, buy shares for support, sit on the shares however long I need to, dump the call credit spreads as fast as possible. Only if it's even if only it's $5, $10, $15, it's okay. Typically, I'll try to get into something that's a 150 to 250 premium, and that way a 15%, 10 to 15% return on one of those is it's 30, 40, $50, right? Instead of the whole entire premium is 30, 40, or $50, and it's like, well, what am I doing this for $5 for? Like it's worthless. I mean, unless you've only
Yeah.
got $250, you got no choice, right? If you got a few
Yeah.
grand, now you can start to do just a couple of positions here and there for $500 collateral, right?
Yep.
Until you grow it. So that's just kind of the way I think about it. But good question. Option selling
Thank you.
is a different animal, and if you know how to do it, if you're interested in doing it, it's going to teach you how to do long puts and calls. Like if you know both sides of the coin, you position yourself a lot better to be successful. You also allow yourself to have multiple streams of income. Like the way I look at it is foundational trading is shares. quick day-to-day money, scalping, and then monthly returns is credit spreads. That's 3 streams of income. So the world is about multiple streams of income. If I can do those 3 things and work my job, I'll be done working my job in 10 years. Guaranteed.
Exactly.
And that's the goal.
Yeah.
But I'll probably keep working. I mean, my job is pretty kosher right now, so I'm lucky, blessed, so I can't complain. All right. Who else has questions? Or Abdul, are you done? Do you have any more?
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you very much, man. That was super helpful again.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great. Welcome. Go ahead, BHS.
Hey, I have a quick question. Can you talk about covered calls and if you've ever gotten involved with that and kind of any advice you have?
I have, yes. Covered calls are basically you own 100 shares of something and then you sell um, a call option against it. So you're taking a premium for that call option, and this is how it works. If, let's say, you sell a $20 strike, you get 100 shares of X company, and you sell a $20 strike on that. So let's say you bought shares at $15. You sell a $20 strike on it. So basically, um, if the stock expire or the option expires in the money, so above $20, whatever premium they paid you, you keep. They take your shares and they pay you $20 per share. Okay. If it does not expire in the money, so it finishes or expires under $20, you keep the full premium and your shares. Right?
Right, but does it always get exercised if it closes above the strike?
Yes. So if it expires above the strike, it's going to take those shares away from you, 100%.
Okay.
And you can always exit the position. So here's the thing: if you're in the money, let's say the $20 strike that paid you $200, that basically means your break even is at 22. If the stock is at 21 and you want to keep the shares, you can close out that contract at 21 and still take in a profit or keep money.
Right. Okay.
But I would wait till the last 2 to 3 days. And covered calls, I normally say, again, 30 to 60 days out. Sweet spot's going to be around 45 plus, so 45 to 50 days. That's where you get the most premium. That's where it's mostly worth it. And the way I would trade a covered call, if you don't want to lose the shares, I would. So let's just say you buy shares at support. You don't want to lose the shares. You want to keep them for long term for whatever reason. You wait till it hits resistance, and then you sell a covered call on it for 30 to 60 days out. And as soon as it, and basically to you want that position to go against you for the first week or two. And then you want it to fall back down off of that support level. And when it does that, at that moment, um, that's when you're going to see good profits. That's when you exit your position. You really don't want to, if you want to keep the shares, you don't want to hold that position, right? But if you don't mind if they take the shares, so let's say you bought the shares at $15, you're happy with selling them at $20 a share, then let it expire. So what? And if it expires at 19, and they paid you $200, the shares, if you sold them at 19, they're worth 21 to you. So you gotta think this strategy out. You gotta really understand what you're trying to achieve with covered calls. I normally don't sell covered calls. I'll sell cash puts if I get assigned shares for my cash puts, then I'll turn around and sell covered calls on them. But I never sell covered calls unless I get assigned shares from a cash put position. Because typically, if I buy shares, I'm just looking to flip them. I'm not interested in holding on to them or being in a position that requires me to hold them.
Okay, so if you're long, there's you don't just sell covered calls for some passive income. It doesn't. I
I
mean,
mean,
like,
you could, but I mean, here's the thing is, like I said, if you're wanting to go long on shares, and meaning you want to keep them, it's a tricky game to play to sell cover calls on it. All right, so you got to get it at the right time, or you got to sell the position at the right time. You got to get out at the right time. You know what I mean? Like it just takes a little bit more finesse. Whereas if you just
yeah,
buy shares and you're like, all right, I'm good at taking profit at $20 from 15. I don't care what happens to it. I'm gonna sell cover calls on it, getting up to $200. So I'm basically gonna have $700 in profit. I'm happy with that. Let it happen. I mean, it could hit 30. I mean, I've sold cover calls on a position where it was at $44. I had 100 shares. It went up to $63, and I made like $400 on that covered call, but I could have made 2,000. So there's that, right? So just like I said, you got to finesse it, and if you get in at the wrong time, that's kind of what I did. I got in at the wrong time, and I learned a lesson. But it's okay because I still made money. It's not like I was a loser. You know what I mean? So
right. I feel like it's hard to be a loser. It's more missing out on potential gains.
right, and you're kind of kicking yourself in the ass in the same scenario. Like, damn it, I shouldn't have sold cover calls on this so soon.
Yeah,
So hindsight 2020, right?
yeah. I didn't know that like all of them were exercised and you always lose the shares. So that's
Yes,
helpful.
100%. You will lose the shares if it's in the money.
Okay, great. That's all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, who's next? I'm gonna take a 2-minute bathroom break. Maybe somebody will have a question when I return. All right, I'm back. So, who has questions?
What do you think about Wendy's?
I think their dollar menu is crap.
That's
No, I'm kidding. What's the ticker?
WEN because their earning is on the 4th to the election, actually.
Let's see. For some reason I can't get estimated. It doesn't give me estimated. What some crap. Okay. I think they're gonna hit this support level down here at $20. That's what I think. And let's see. Beat earnings. Didn't beat earnings. That doesn't make any sense. Look at this. So this earnings, they didn't beat it and it went up. This earnings, they beat it and it went down. So
I
I
know.
don't know what that's about.
That's what I was thinking. Like I was talking to my friend about it. She told me because like a lot of times some of these companies they will release like good news on the earnings, so like they just move opposite direction. And some that's what she said. I don't know. Like I didn't listen to it. She listened to
Well, I mean,
the earnings each.
here's the thing with that's why I don't play earnings because it's like a flip of a coin. You might as well go play roulette in the casino on black or red, right? I mean, unless you follow it religiously and you know exactly what it's going to do, you shouldn't be playing earnings, right? You should wait until after earnings and then play whatever right or whatever wave is happening after earnings. I happen to think that it's going to hit a support level and it's going to bounce. It doesn't matter what earnings says because the market's going to do its thing. Like the whole entire market's going to move in one direction. I think the direction is up, but I could be wrong. I have been wrong in the past. I have been right, but it's just it's impossible to um, predict. But what I can tell you is the support level here. That one, and you got one right here. So I would say 2089 and 2047 are two key support levels for this. Everything else that's above it, man, it's pretty weak. Like you got this one, that's kind of weak, if you ask me. Let's see if there's anything to the left of it. I mean, arguably, it's okay. So you got this. You got this right here that could be support. This could be support. This area could be support. This little small thing right here. They're not like great. Like I don't look at that and say, "Oh, this is a solid support area." But I do look at this one down here and say, "That's solid support."
Right. I mean that does look like the stronger support to me because I think pre-pandemic that was a strong support also.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I haven't looked too deeply
Yeah.
into Wendy's, but I mean, yeah, I mean, if you go back and you look, and you've been at multiple of these live Q&As, and I'm pretty sure I've gone over support and resistance on each one of them. So I think you should have a fairly decent understanding on how support and resistance are drawn out. So if you go and look and do your own analysis on it, you should be able to tell specifically with this one that I think is a good support level, how far back does it go?
Right.
I
This
think we'll
is
see a drop.
me
Personally.
too. It is at a downtrend right now actually also.
Well, the other thing with the downtrend is it's bleeding. It's not just like slowly moving down. It's like somebody shot it, and it's losing blood quickly. I call it an artery bleed. That's what Wendy's is doing. That's what
Artery.
Intel did. Let's see. Intel, yeah. This is being shot, right? This one right here is gunshot, gunshot. And then when somebody starts to patch that hole, then it starts to show a little bit of green. Right? And that's what it's doing right here. Starting to show a little green. Same thing did here. Showed a little green. So you see red on Intel, or when you see Intel go below, say, 4360, that's a solid entry, in my opinion. You will only see it once. One day it's going to do that, and it's going to probably be tomorrow or Tuesday. Then you're not going to see it again.
Bleeding?
No, it's going to hit its second to lowest low. So its lowest low is 43.21. It's going to hit a second to lowest low, so above 43.21, so maybe like 43.50, and then you're not going to see that low again for a while.
It does look like it's gonna bounce.
I don't think it'll be a strong bounce by any means, but I think it's gonna. I mean, I believe it's gonna do exactly what it did last time. I mean, you see this right here. It's gonna do that, in my opinion.
But but there might not be a possibility that after these slow growth, you will see another bleeding.
You could very well. I mean, I would say by next earnings, if they don't turn it around by next earnings, you're gonna see another gunshot. So, get in now, hold it for 3 months or 2 months, and get out. Shares.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Not doing option on this.
No, it moves too slowly for options. I mean, you could scalp it on a good day, right? But that's about it. I definitely wouldn't do anything beyond a scalp on. Honestly, I don't really like doing anything other than scalping if I'm going to buy options.
I don't even want to do
mistake.
scalping on this. I feel like.
Well, scalping is tricky, right? And for me, it's like get into something as soon as you see profit. It doesn't matter what it is, you take it. If you can do that 5 to 10 times every day and get $5 or $10 for every trade, that's a really good return. But scalping's for advanced people, in my opinion, with a lot of experience, very solid understanding of options, very solid understanding of particular stocks that they're watching. Not just like, oh, this stock looks good, I'm gonna jump on this one today. Doesn't work like that.
That's why if I do option right now, I only follow Tilio really. Besides that, I'm just doing shares.
Yeah,
Too
good
risky.
idea.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Who's next? Anybody?
Hey, Hassan, I got a question.
Okay.
Oh, how's it work when you're closing out an option that you write? You just got to buy one and hang on to it till it expires?
That I write. Is that selling?
Like
So
if you sell an option and you want to get out of it, you
okay.
just have to buy that same one,
Correct. You have to buy it back to close it.
and then you just hang on to it till it's done.
No. So if you sell to open, you're in the
Mhm.
position. If you buy to close it, you're out of the position.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's the exact opposite of buying to open, and then you sell it to close. Right. So if I buy a long option on Tesla at 420, then it hits 450, I'm in the money. All right, let's say I chose a 420 strike, I'm in the money. It hits 450, I got a lot of profit. I'm gonna sell it to close it. Whereas if I'm shorting it and I sell a cover or I sell let's just say a call, and I do it at the 420 strike, stock goes down to 410, I'm gonna buy it to close it.
Okay.
You're just thinking of it as the opposite of buying options. It's the complete opposite. Buy to open, sell to close, sell to open, buy to close.
I was just trying to. So someone would basically just take over, and then they'd be responsible if someone exercises it.
Well, you can think of it as this way. If you sell to open and then you go to buy to close it, it's just, how do I explain that? So let's talk shares because it's the same concept when you're shorting shares, right? So with
Okay.
shares, if I short some shares, I'm basically borrowing the shares and say, hey, let me borrow your shares and I'm gonna go sell these on the market, and somebody's gonna buy it from me, and then when the price falls, I'm gonna buy it back from them, and I'm gonna take the profit, and then I'm gonna give you your shares back that I borrowed. So you're basically, quote unquote, borrowing from the market to go short it somewhere, and then when you're done shorting it, you give it back to the market. Does that make sense?
Okay. All right. So you're technically not putting up your own shares like when you're selling it.
No, I mean they're not yours. You're just borrowing it. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome. Who's next? Don't be shy, everyone. Someone ask a question, or this live Q&A is gonna die fast. Always does. If no questions are asked.
I guess I'll ask one more. Have you been following Zoom recently?
No, I have not. What's your question?
Oh, I was just wondering. Looks like it might be ready to bounce back up a little bit, or just continue to fall.
Well, it's at support.
Yeah.
I mean, it's at support. You can see that, right? This is going to be your next support level over here. So what I would say is if this falls below, and I think it will, personally. If it falls below this support line and stays below it, this is the next one. These other little areas right here of support, they're trash. I wouldn't bet on those, but I would bet on this one. If that makes sense.
All right. Yeah, I'll just keep watching it. I saw England said they were going on lockdown too, so see.
Yeah, these are all support levels, or the circles. So where we're at, support. These two are confirmation of that support. And this one down here is another support area. And this one's got multiple candles and wicks touching it, so I think this is pretty good. Also stops a downtrend and creates an uptrend. So that's strong support right there. Also, I just saw that this old resistance point acts like support, right? Because it's literally right in line with the support levels. So sometimes you can use strong resistance levels as support levels, but I only use them when it's kind of like a confirmation, if that makes sense. So if it if there is no support level, let's just assume for a second those these two right here are not there. It's just current price. So current price is here, and then we got a resistance level here. If the stock bounces off this level, I would say this resistance level acts as support, right? And that would be the confirmation that says, okay, it bounced here. That resistance level kind of acts as support. Now I know because it bounced, because I have confirmation that it bounced, that's the support level in the future. But because we have two other confirmation levels, that adds to the confirmation that's already there, which explains why it's got multiple times it's bounced off of here, or very close. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that either bounced or almost bounced off of it. Within, let's see, 60, within $3, and we're talking $460, so that's not a lot. When you talk about percentage wise, $3 from 460 is awfully tiny. So it's basically bounced off that level, is how I would look at that.
All right, thanks. And also, if say for instance, I know you're not scalping options or anything much anymore, but like when uh, stocks reaching like over its all-time highs, do you just rely on like your standard deviation channels just to somewhat try to figure out?
I would look at them to see how of an extreme level that high is. If it's on the first channel, then it's not extreme. It has more room to grow. But if it's on the green, now we're starting to get a little. It could probably go over it a little bit, maybe. But if it does go over it, then I would expect it to fall. I mean, perfect example right here, right? And went over the green and then dipped pretty hard, actually. So that's kind of how I would look at it. I
Okay.
wouldn't scalp. I wouldn't continue to scalp it up. I would stop, and then I'd look for it to get more extreme, and then start looking to scalp it in the opposite direction, maybe. This doesn't nothing really, very rarely continues up like that. It'll fall, it'll find a fair number or fair value, and then start going back up again. Like it never continues up 99% of the time. There are outliers like Tesla. And when I mean outliers, I'm talking about probabilities and statistics.
Gotcha. All right, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. Who's next?
I've got a question for you. Is there
Okay.
any way that we could take a look at Neo real quick?
Let's see. NIO.
Yes.
And what do you want me to look at?
Do you see a potential bullish run within the next month?
No.
Okay.
So if I look at all the recent bullish runs, it has some pullback. So bullish pullback, bullish pullback, bullish pullback, bullish sideways, bullish pullback, bullish sideways or pullback. Looks like long term it's trending nicely though, upwards.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's just like I said, that's just looking at the chart. It could be one of the outliers at some point and just start ripping. It could rip. Let's say Biden gets in and it'll rip. Let's just assume that because it's an EV, Biden gets in. Biden likes China. That's the circulation of words these days. Biden is a Chinese. What's the word I'm looking for? He appeases to the Chinese government. So that would be good for NIO because they're in China, right? That could basically mean Biden will maybe potentially sign trade deals to allow NIO to come into the United States and sell their vehicles and put Tesla against the wall. Who knows? This is all speculation. Just an example of one scenario that could play out. Okay. Who else?
I've got a question.
Okay.
So I kind of see on Neo that it's kind of hitting the first standard deviation. Do you think it might pull back from that a little?
It could very well. I mean, it looks like
Okay.
it travels in that first channel, right? And it looks like it's only touched that first channel, the top first channel, once and fell. So, yeah, I mean, just looking at the chart, yeah, I think it could totally fall from that.
Okay.
It might
I'll,
it might
I'll wait and see what it does.
yeah, it might fall down to like the $28 area, right? Or even a little bit further down, like 27.
Wait, why do you think it would fall that far down?
Well, I mean, if you look at the last time, right, that's a 30 to 40% drop. A 30 to 40% drop from its high would be
Oh, okay. I got it.
28 area.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And when I say 30 to 40%, I mean on the wave itself, not the stock price. So, the wave is from the low to the high, from the low to the high.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure you understand what I was.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Who's next? I still got another hour. If you guys want to keep asking questions. If someone has already gone, please feel free to ask more. Tough crowd tonight. Anybody? Someone?
What do you think about Peter Schiff? Shelf?
Peter Schiff is a gold bug.
What?
Gold bug. Oh, wait. Yeah, Peter Schiff. not Adam Schiff. Sorry, I was thinking Adam Schiff is the Democrat guy. Peter Schiff is a gold bug. He's always talking about buy gold, buy precious metals. It's going to go to the moon someday.
He always says the bubble is gonna burst. Like the tech bubble. I don't know, the market bubble. I think he's really
He's been saying that for a decade, and then the decade before that, and then the decade before that. um,
kind of nuts, right? I mean, I don't know.
well, it's at some point it will, right? I mean, it always does. At some point, it's going to. At some point, gold and silver is going to fly to the moon. It's going to fly to Mars. Um,
um,
if you listen to
99.
what he says, he makes it sound like it's impending. But reality is, it's not as impending as he says it is, but it will happen. It's just a matter of when. And it's generally 99% of the time not as impending as he's saying, if that makes sense.
Got you. I just, I was listening to him, and he he just saying, Federal Reserve is making all this,
Money.
with interest rate and the inflations. He says gonna crash down. Every time I see him, he says that. I was just thinking about, what do you think? He says.
I mean, I feel the same way, but something's got to make it crash. It's not just going to do it because it's going to do it. Because, if all this stuff is happening, like, printing money and quantitative easing, stimulus, there's got to be a domino effect, right? It's not just going to be like, oh, we're printing trillions of dollars, everything's going to crash. And it doesn't work that way. It's a domino effect. It's something has to affect something else, and everything has to become a chain of reaction events. And then at that point, I can see it being bad.
I see.
The way you need to look at him is gloom and doom, gold and silver bug. That's the kind of opinion he has. And I agree with everything he says. It's just it's not immediate, right?
He's a little too. He's rushing it. I feel like.
Well, it's part of his MO. It's part of his strategy because I guarantee he shorts all kinds of stuff. He's not stupid. There's a reason why he's rich. And it's not because he talks about market crashing all the time. It's not because he thinks it's going to crash. It's because what he says gets people doing certain things, and then he probably plays against them. But he probably deep down believes what he's saying, if that makes sense.
I think where he present himself, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think yeah, to me, he looks like he's really passionate about that topic.
Oh, he
Too.
is. He's very knowledgeable about gold and silver. I mean, I've been in gold and silver for a long time. I know a lot about it, and that's why I know when you said his name, I knew exactly who you're talking about. Um, he just, like I said, he's Mr. Doom and Gloom, and the market doesn't act in doom and gloom and fashion, right? It all acts in a certain, how do I say it? Um, I'm really short for words today. My brain's not working. Um, the market works in a concerted fashion. It's just not going to start crashing hard because of what doom and gloom Peter Schiff is saying, right? Um, a lot of things have to happen for the market to do what he says is going to happen. That makes sense.
It will be a slow decline.
Well,
Uh,
no.
Crash.
If it happens, if what he's saying happens, it's going to be huge. It's going to be, it's going to make every other crash look like peanuts. And at some point, it could very well happen. But Here's the thing. Josue, can you please mute your mic?
Yeah.
Thank you. The U.S. is in trillions of dollars of debt, right? Everybody knows that. What everybody doesn't know is it being in debt. The government being in debt is not like you and I being in debt. Right? The government being in debt, let's say the government borrows money from the banks. The government can honestly choose to tell the banks to go screw themselves. What are the banks going to do? Right? The way the banks have control is the fact that they control the amount of money flow that goes into the economy, into the actual banks. And when I say they control, I mean the Federal Reserve, which is made up of a bunch of people on the Federal Reserve chair and committee that are from the banks. Right? So you got a private entity known as the Federal Reserve. That's not a federal entity. It's created and approved by Congress, who appoints the committee appoints their own people to the committee. They appoint their own, or I think the president appoints the FOMC chair, who creates monetary policy, and it's really up to them to decide how they want money to go in and out of the economy, right? So if they say, hey, United States government, you guys owe us this much money, the United States government is going to say, so what? And just like, we owe China money. If they try to come collect, we're going to be like, no, come take it, right? But here's something that a lot of people may or may not know is China is more in debt than we are.
To everybody?
What's that?
They're in debt to America?
No, like they're just in debt in general, like to themselves. They've printed so much money, more money, 100 times what the United States has printed. They've devalued their dollar or their currency more than the U.S. currency has devalued its. Right? And they do that for trade imbalance, so they can get the upper hand when it comes to trade, right? Because it manipulates the numbers, it manipulates the GDP, it makes it look stronger than it is. Then they can turn around and all this money that they've devalued, now they can still build the same things in their country that they could have when they didn't devalue it. So now it's worth more to them in their economy, right? But in reality, they've printed so much that it makes what the United States has printed look like peanuts. Nobody really knows that, right? And China doesn't necessarily say, "Hey guys, guess what? We printed 100 times what the U.S. government has." We're not going to openly say that, but if you look at all the times they devalued their currency over the past 20 years, and printed, you'd see.
I do think I do know. Yeah, I think I heard that before because my family is there still. I think they said something about it. The currency is dropping like.
That's why the Chinese people themselves, not the government, but the people, are like hardcore gold people, because they know that gold's going to stay up in value where the currency is going to fall. Same thing with Indians, although I think the Chinese people are gold is kind of a cultural thing in a way too. But I think with Indians, it's even more so. It's a lot more so. But the Indians also know that it's a very good store of value, and in the future, it's going to be worth more than the cash that they pay for that gold is today.
Yeah, that's another reason why I think I want to invest in gold. I mean, everywhere I see this, this kind of thing everywhere. Everybody's printing money, so.
Well, yeah, the whole world is doing it. It's just the countries that are first world countries that have markets, that have banks, they can do it without consequence. Whereas countries like Zimbabwe, there's consequences. They're not a major country. They don't have major banks across the world, so they can't manipulate and print, and it affects them extremely negatively. Venezuela's one. They tried to print money, and they went hardcore socialist, tried to print money, tried to take control of a lot of things in their country. Well, they did take control of a lot of things, turn it from private to public, and now they're suffering from it. And one of the reasons why is because of hyperinflation, right? They can't control it like the US or the UK, China, Russia, um, Australia, Germany, Greece couldn't even control it, and they're a first world country for the most part. They had hyperinflation, shutting banks down. You couldn't get your money out. That happened to them until the EU bailed them out. So there's not a lot of countries in the world that can devalue their money like the ones I just mentioned. People actually have to have real monetary policy, not like us, where we can just be like, "Oh, screw it. You're going to print 2 trillion today, and in 3 months we'll print another 2 trillion. And then we're going to decide whether or not to print another 2 trillion in 3 months. Whatever, you know."
Other more reasons to look at gold.
Well,
Suppose.
if you're thinking about gold in that sense, you should be looking at precious metals like physical gold, not trading it on the market.
Oh, like go and buy actual gold bar?
Yes. If you're trying to preserve your wealth, that's what I call wealth preservation. You're not actually making money. You're just making sure that the money that you have today is going to be worth that same number in the future. It's going to be able to buy the same things in the future.
Yeah, well, preservation, I suppose, it just, I don't know where I'm going to, I've never bought a physical gold before.
Appmex.com. There's plenty of places. JM Bullion, appmex.com. What's that? Credit Suisse. They're actually a producer of gold, so AppMex produces their own bullion. JM Bullion produces their own. There's quite a few places out there that do it, but like I think the best precious metal company is going to be probably Credit Suisse, and you can buy like tenth of an ounce bars or 1 or 2 gram bars, and they're like 200-300 bucks or something like that. You can buy silver. Silver's poor man's gold. A lot cheaper.
They're both precious metals.
Yeah.
Physical metals.
Hmm.
Deliver it to me?
Yeah. This
Oh,
is
okay.
21st century.
I was thinking about like going on to like a market. Yeah.
I mean, you could go to the flea market. Flea market has it. You could go to little brick and mortar stores around town that sell gold and silver. You go to the pawn store, the pawn shop that says we buy gold and silver. They also sell it.
This sell it for a higher price than these agencies, don't they?
It's hit or miss, honestly. I mean, there's a spot price, and a lot of the times depends. Most of the brick and mortar places are going to have more of a premium on it because they have to pay rent, whereas the AppMex, like online AppMex, or you could just probably Google Credit Suisse gold bars, and at least 5 different online sites will pop up. They're generally going to be, I think they'll be a little cheaper, but the only way to really get it for cheap, the cheapest price, is going to be to wire them money or send them a check. If you buy it with credit, you're going to pay a fee for that. So
Uh, I, all right, right. I'm gonna have to look into this. I didn't know this was a thing. I thought because everybody was buying the gold stocks, so that's what I thought. That's what I thought it meant to buy gold.
well, there's two ways to buy gold. You can buy the paper money, the paper gold, the gold that ain't really worth anything except for numbers, or you can buy physical metal. You do a little bit of
I
both.
think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna buy a physical metal just to not be paranoid about it.
Just so you know, 1 ounce of gold is like $2,000.
I have that. When is the best time to buy gold? When so
I wouldn't right now, to be honest. I mean, I think the paper gold is probably the better choice as far as making money. But if you're just interested in preserving what your dollar is worth today, then buy the precious metal. But to get it at a best price, that time has passed. It's gone. You're not going to get that best price no more. At least not in the near future, next 2 to 3 years. It's gonna hit a high before it goes back towards a low, basically. Its bear market is over. It's in a bull market.
well, the gold doesn't move with the market or it move against it. I thought it moved against it.
Mm, there's a lot of things that affect gold and silver, so it's it, it's hard to say. It's contradictory to a lot of things it does. But in the grand scheme of things, the US dollar falls, gold and silver goes up.
Oh,
That's really the main driver because the US dollar is the world number one world reserve currency. The US dollar is what all the countries in the world trade oil with. So it's it used to be silver or the US dollar was backed by gold. They got it off the gold standard and they put it on the oil standard. So it's now called the petrodollar. So OPEC agreed with the United States that they're going to trade oil in strictly dollars. That created an insuperable amount of money flow of the US dollar, which made it highly demanded. So simple supply and demand concepts, right?
so what happened if the fossil fuel become obsolete in the future? What would it do then?
I have no idea.
Oh wow,
I mean,
to get their shit together.
let me go get my magic wand. I'll tell you. I got a crystal ball. If only.
That that would be so good for the trading.
I'd make everybody rich. I'd be like the I'd be on Forbes, richest man,
In a
richest
Just
man
world,
wave
alive,
it around me, please.
richest man alive.
and then you charge people to give them advices on the trade, probably.
I wouldn't. Why would I need to charge people if I'm making so
Right,
much money?
right, you're right. It just do it for free, yeah.
To be honest though, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I might not even. I might just trade by myself at that point. If I'm making that kind of money, it's like, I mean, I like helping people. Don't get me wrong, but there will come a point where if I'm making that kind of money, it's like I would rather spend my time traveling and doing things with my family, right? So priorities.
Right, right. Oh, I wish.
Don't we all?
One day, one day.
One day we'll be able to trade and not have to work. Not one day I'm gonna have a crystal ball.
Oh
unless,
shit,
Hey,
yeah.
you
unless
never
I
know,
can
bro.
teleport to the future or something and come back. Hell, if I could do that, I'd go back to when Tesla came out and Amazon came out and put 5Gs in both of those, or everything I've got into both of those.
It's everybody's wish.
Right? Hot tub time machine.
I'd invest mine in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'll do
You
that
could,
too.
yeah. That's that shit ripped. And then just fast forward to the highest point in history. Sell it. Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
What's the game plan for tomorrow?
I don't really have one except to just watch and wait. But I don't scalp. I don't do day trades for now, so that's kind of that's not really my realm, but I will watch and wait. I basically have all my money in the market right now, which is bad. I've been averaging down and I'm kind of tapped out. So hopefully it doesn't crash because then I'm just going to be sitting here with my dick in my hand at that point. And my money's just going to be sitting there for a few years probably. Who knows how long.
I mean, I think it'll go up eventually. No.
Well, that's why I said it's going to be sitting there. I'm not going to sell it at a loss. And
Right.
January 1st comes around, I'm going to throw some more money in. So not the end of the world. I do think we're going to have some red though. It might not be as heavy. This is my guess. It might not be heavy, but it'll be red. I don't know. I'm flipping a coin. I really don't know. Okay, who else has questions?
Do you know what a wash sale is?
Wash sale? I've heard of it. Let me do a quick Google search. Oh, you sell it at a loss. This is kind of like there's a real estate rule that's very similar to this, but it's not at a loss. Anyways, yeah, you sell it at a loss, and within 30 days you buy something substantially similar. And I'm not really sure what the benefit here is. Sounds like you're just selling something for a loss, buying something similar, and then what? Let's see. Okay, so the loss gets added to the basis of the replacement of the security that you purchased. So whatever you lost on something that you sold and you buy a very similar security, you can add the loss to that. Um, Basically means your loss doesn't go up in smoke. But I wouldn't even bother with doing wash sales. It's a little complex. Looks like there's some rules around it. I mean, if you're interested in trying to learn things about the IRS and that kind of thing too, feel free to do it. But I would just hold on to a position at that point. I mean, you could, right? I wouldn't do it. But if it's a strategy that you've looked into or that you like or that fits your style, then doesn't work for everyone, could work for you. There's something in real estate that's similar to that where you sell your property, but then when a certain amount of days you can get into another one. I think this is a rental property. You sell an investment property, you get into another one within a certain amount of days, and you don't pay taxes on it because you flip it. It just goes from one investment to the other, so you don't pay any taxes on it. I think it's 30 or 60 days or something like that. I forget what it's called, but it's a good way to not pay taxes on investment property. Okay. Anybody else get questions?
Yeah, Hustle.
Okay. What's up?
Can you pull up NYCB? So I forgot to ask you this the other day, but you see how it's been bouncing off the 821 support and then just like the $8 support?
Yep.
So my question is, because we got in at 9 and I was like, okay, I could average down at 8 or even 821. Is it's struggling to get back to 9. Is it smart to just break even when the strong supports, when 9 was its strong support, becomes its resistance? Is it better to just trade it, break even, and get out, or should you just keep averaging down? Like, when do you normally like, all right, like let's just break even and move on to the next trade? Because I think I probably, if I would have just traded it like I would have normally traded it, I would have broken even and then made some on top of that. But um, in this case, I don't know why I didn't do either, and yeah.
Well, I have average down on it. My average down is 831 now,
Mm-hmm.
which puts me right about there. Also, I'm in profit after hours. That is. Ooh, might get out of that tomorrow.
Where is that at right now?
845.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it was at 9 a couple days ago, I think, or like
Yeah,
near 9.
I just averaged down though, so when it hit, I think I had a buy-in at $8.
Yeah.
So I averaged down when it hit $8 because I was higher than that at one point.
Yeah, so it's like I was saying, is it best to just try to break even in plays like these?
Well, I mean, at some point, it's going to rebound, right? If you have the capital to average down and then make 20 or 30 bucks, do that. I mean, the whole purpose of shares is, don't get in it and then your money sit there and then you break even and don't get anything, right? I mean, make something, even if it's only
Yeah,
10
man,
bucks,
because that $8 support is really strong now. Versus, where their 9 was really strong, now their 8 is really strong, to a point where you could have flipped it 3-4 times within a month,
Right.
and made a decent amount of money, right? Like, at least that was the plan. So
Yeah, unfortunately, it just played out against us, right?
It was politics, dude. A lot of our plays got screwed over this like October through politics.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I mean, I don't. That's why I like doing shares because stupid things like that affect my stocks. It's not the end of the
Yeah.
world. Like I can just chill and
Yeah,
you know
yeah, yeah.
whatever,
I've been relaxing. I still made profit this whole month though, which is good. But I was just curious about that in general, whether when a strong support becomes a strong resistance for that same stock that you were trading, if you just try to profit or break even. But I guess it's best to try to make some profit.
Yeah, try to get something out of it because it's basically like a wash at that point. You're not getting anything. You just wasted time, and
Yeah.
time is money. So try to get something for it.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be a lot. You know, if you just want to um, get
Just to
out for a
loosen up the
dollar or
money.
two. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it depends though. I mean, if you like, for me, it's a small piece of my account. So you
Oh
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's not a huge amount, but it's just like this is the one play. Like I got out most of my plays already, but this is kind of like the last one that I was hoping earnings would just get it over the $9 mark, but it didn't. So
are you still at $9 break even?
yeah, I don't know why I never averaged down. I think I was just a little um like scared with everything that was going on. But like I said, that's why I probably should have just traded off the 821 or the $8 support, and I probably would have doubled my profits or even tripled it at this point, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of those where at the time I think I was being a little impatient and I wanted to grab something based off of standard deviation, and this is what happened, right? I mean, because when I grabbed it off standard deviation, it was on green.
Oh
So,
yeah, that's pretty high.
well, no, it was on support level at green. So, this $9 mark right here, I think is where I bought it initially.
Yeah, we got in at 9. I remember that.
Yeah, and the second standard deviation, this green down here, was up here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and it's a small cap. I like doing small caps sometimes. So, I got it. I'm like, all right, this will be all right. And then, and like I said, I wasn't worried about it. I had limit orders already set for areas that I thought were good to get in at, and it happened for me. So now my average down is at 831. So I'm actually slightly in profit now, according to after hours. So I don't know. I mean, I could potentially hold that and wait for something. Let's see. Dividends are on the 5th. I mean, might as well grab a few of those while I'm at it. I got 50 shares. 50 times 17 cents is $8.50. If I'm up $8 to $10, that'll be double profit. I mean,
I didn't think about that.
when you're in something for such a long time, what's another few days? Unless it
Yeah, I
goes to
always forget
9.
about dividends. Okay.
I mean, like I said, I don't trade off of dividends. I could care less about them. But if I do get into something that does have it, then I'll potentially consider the return off of the dividends based off of how many shares I've got, and assuming the stock doesn't rip before then, which if I lose that opportunity waiting on dividends, that's a bad choice too.
Got it. Okay. Well, I guess at this point we just gotta wait, and if it goes back down to $8, I'll probably just average down then.
Yeah, set a limit order. Looks like
Yeah, man, I missed that Pat's entry as well. I know that one's gonna irk me for a while
I'd say
because
805 is a good entry.
it popped up to 32 that day. That Pat's the next day.
Oh yeah,
Oh man, yeah, that
I,
one's eating at
I
me.
made like
That would have been a quick.
120, 140 off pets.
Yeah, that one was gonna be a quick $100
Yep,
in and out.
that's how I like it.
Yep.
Love that. What's pets look like now?
It's back down to 30, I think.
Oh yeah.
But I wanted it at 28. 28 is such a good.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's see.
Because I remember messaging you and I was like, I missed the 28, and you were like, limit orders. I was like, I
Yeah.
didn't think it was gonna go that low.
I didn't think it would either, but I was like, screw it. I'm just going because when I looked at the history as far as earnings, and it drops, and I kind of looked at how much did it drop in relation to like so for example, I'm looking at this and I say, all right, right here it did like a 25% drop, and then it
Mm-hmm.
bounced and then it fell hard, right? And then over here, it did a huge drop. But then I start looking at what it looks like right now. So huge drop, consolidated, pumped, decent sized drop, consolidated, pumped, dropped, had earnings, and I'm thinking, all right, based off of the what you call it, this was huge. This wasn't as huge, and then I knew this one on this earnings wasn't going to be as big as these two. So I kind of thought, maybe half, right? So then I went over here and looked at support way over here. I saw 27.74 basically is where I drew this line. So like, all right, I'll go with 28. Set a limit order
Yeah.
at 28, and boom, instantly the next day I got it. And it was like right at open too, I think. Let's see, was it open? Not quite. So 30 minutes, 30. Yeah, an hour in to market open, it happened.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that. And the next day up here, I sold it end of the day, and I made 140 bucks on it. So that's a great trade. That's ideal.
Yeah, those are the those are the ones I get mad when I miss them because those are the best ones for shares.
I mean, it's just like AT&T, right? Look what AT&T is doing again, right? I called it over here. Remember that one? It ripped
Yeah.
hard literally the next day, and I'm telling everybody, get out now. And then boom, it falls. Damn, could have got back in at 26.35 again, it looks like. So I think AT&T's, it did some kind of crazy stuff here. Now it's going to start doing a slow uptrend, in my opinion.
Yeah, with the whole 5G stuff.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, anytime you see a big pump like this one here, that's a good indication that this downtrend has stopped.
Yeah, it's gonna happen to work again. I also got a little too greedy and jumped in at 28 when I knew I should have just waited at 25 because I know 25 is such a good entry as well. It looks like it's headed back down there again, anyways. So that one for sure I'll average down.
So
And
work?
yep.
Yeah.
Mario.
Hey, Nico, what up?
Hey man. I saw you got the ice cream. Where'd you get the gelato from?
Oh, Genki's?
Hey.
You'd like that place, Hostel. They have some
Yeah,
really good
right.
crepes out there.
Yes, sir.
I gotta stay away from that.
I sent you a picture, dude. I sent a picture to the group like a week ago. I went to Genki's too, on Clement, right?
Yep, on Clement Street.
Yep.
Yeah, I gotta stay away from that stuff, man. I just
Got
joined the
us.
gym.
Yeah, Hostel was like, get away from the
Bro,
Nutella.
Hostel eats the most.
Yeah, my cousin in the Philippines has Nutella.
Oh.
Like he eats the crap out of it, and he's like, when I was over there last time, he was 200 pounds, and
Oof.
then my mom went back like 2 years ago, and he's like 350, and all he's eating is Nutella. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my
that's not good
god,
for you, man.
he's a big
Oh
dude
man.
though. He's like 6'5". Imagine a Filipino is 6'5".
I
This
He
kid's
haven't
should be
seen a
playing
huge.
football.
Filipino. Yeah.
He's huge
But
for a Filipino.
do you see what I mean, though, with the $25 support?
Yeah, man. I mean, right here. No, that's. Are you talking about this one? This
Well, I
one.
can't really see it that well because I'm on my phone, so.
This one is 25, right there. I like this one.
What's
23.
that? 23. No,
Or
it hasn't hit that in a while though.
24.
It'll touch 24-ish, but I haven't seen it hit 23 in a minute.
Well, here's the thing, man. I want you to notice this.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to bring to your attention.
I don't like that. That's scary. I believe it's going to come down here. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
and I'll wait for it. I'm pretty sure they're going to come down and it'll just keep adding up. I really believe in this company. I think it's either going to get one bought out or it explodes. It's one or the other.
Well, that's not a bad thing. I mean, their competition is Microsoft Teams, so
Yeah, Microsoft is doing really well with it. So it's either Microsoft buys them out or someone else buys them out or they rip, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Microsoft doesn't like competition.
Yeah, and Slack, I like Slack. I use it myself. A lot of companies use it here in San Francisco. A lot of tech companies use it, so it has potential. I just don't know why it hasn't exploded like every other tech company.
Give it time.
Yeah, it's fairly new, and the price is really good. It follows support and resistance really well. So
Yeah, if I were you, I'd put limit orders, entry orders at 23.75.
okay,
I think that's a fair number. So I can get closer here and get a better.
yeah, I see. I think that was its earnings, if I remember correctly. That's why it dropped that low in the first place.
It's headed right back down though. That's the thing. What I think is going to happen with this, it does have a downward trend,
Hmm.
but it's going to keep doing the same thing. It's going to get down here.
Yeah, it goes down and then just goes back up. That's what I keep trading off of every single time.
I also happen to believe that it's going to follow that trend line. All right, so let me redraw that. It's going to follow that.
Hmm.
So let's say it touches down here somewhere. It's going to probably go back up this area right here.
Yeah.
Let's see, we're talking, let's see, 1 month, 2 months, 1.5. So let's say 1.5 to 2 months when it hits the bottom. So let's say it hits the bottom somewhere here. So it'll hit a high somewhere here. So then maybe this trend line right here, somewhere in between 30 and 28.75. It's gonna be the next
Yeah. I
high.
usually get out at 30 anyway, so
It's stretching it. It depends how quickly it hits the bottom. And I think I think it will go a little bit lower, to be honest, than the bottom
I'll
because
keep an eye on it.
it's got a downward trend, right? I mean, setting lower highs and lower lows.
Okay.
So, like from this high, it bounced 2 lows on the same area. Third low was kind of a trap, bounced up and then went through it. You see what I'm saying? And then it touched it 2 separate times, basically, um, averaging these times together, bounced, and then broke through it. All right. And then this time it's just like, red bounced, but again, it's all these highs are lower. These
Oh,
strong
they're lower than
highs.
the previous one?
Yeah. So like these in between ones don't matter. They don't make a difference. It's these big ones that you got to really pay attention to, and those are the ones you draw your trend line off of.
Okay.
So, you know, you see how it kind of follows a level.
Yeah.
And once it gets down here in this wedged area, then it's kind of like it's either going to explode to the top or it's just going to maybe do some more it's going to breach support again and then kind of languish. It's kind of like what BA did at one point. It was, let's see if I still have, I don't think I have that drawn anymore. So yeah, I mean, I can show you exactly what I had was that? No, I didn't include the top high because it was too, so this is what I had drawn, and I had a support level basically right there, and it broke through that support, right? So it broke through the support right here, kind of went down for a few days, and then it went back above it, went sideways, went back
Just
below it.
channeled for a good
Yeah,
while.
yeah. So it could very easily do that, and then now you see it. It's broken through multiple support levels, and it's testing this one here. So we might see BA fall further.
Yeah, it's either it drops more or, like you said, it's gonna pop.
Yeah. Either or. So who knows? I'm
Okay.
telling you, man, this whole COVID thing is just BS. It's it's killing all the shorters. Everybody that's trying to short something in the other direction, it's killing them. It's killing everybody that has um, stop losses on their shares, right? I mean, if you're like me, then you're just gonna sit there and wait on it.
Yeah, that's kind of, I've taken that route in general. Like I'll let I'll let the drawdown be there, and it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's so much safer to do. Your money's not going anywhere, especially with Boeing, or if you're in, any one of these major stocks that are out there, money's not going anywhere.
I just realized my anxiety went down because there's no expiration date. That's when I knew that this was better for me.
Right. I'm glad it's working for you.
No, yeah, I mean it's making me money, man. So I just know that once I get a bigger portfolio, it's just gonna be more money. So not really too stressed out about it.
And that's the beauty, right? That's what I keep trying to tell everybody is at some point you're gonna have enough money in there to where you're gonna be making 5 grand off of, and that's 5%.
Yeah,
You
I joked around with I think it was like a lot. I think it was Phase, Phase, VCAV, Arctic, and Arrow were all in. I think even Cal was in there. I was like, give me 5 years, boys, and I'll make more money than all y'all people in here. They all laughed, but I was like, all right, just give me time.
That's all you need.
Yep.
Time and consistent returns. I mean, if you don't grow your account, then it's gonna take more time.
Yeah, I'll be fine. I just need to be less greedy and
Yeah, take profits when you see them. I mean,
dude, yep.
I still have that problem.
No, I blew it with Apple. I should have sold that 125, didn't. Lost the 250 profit that I told you about.
I mean, I blew it with Apple. I blew it with Tesla. I blew it with Moderna. I blew it with NYCB at one point, I think, and SWCH. I blew it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just looking at it like, oh, it's gonna. I'm getting that FOMO. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
one of those things that just I can preach about that all day long and say, you guys don't get FOMO, don't get emotional. But it's so hard to practice what you preach sometimes, especially when I've got a profit target in mind. And it's a reasonable resistance level. It's not like I'm
Yeah,
trying to
no,
get
see
the
that I
high,
think that's our issue though, man, cuz like with MGM, I was up $75 and I was like I should take this cuz 25 I was only going to miss out on $25, but I was like no, there's no way this is going to go down, and boom, drops $3 like in 2 days, and I'm like god damn it.
Yeah, that's the same thing. I think I told you this about Moderna. I got 2 grand in it. I was up $320. It was probably $100 away from my profit target. And I'm like, I'll wait. It's going up.
Yep.
And then
Exactly.
I'm like, shit, I could have got 2 grand for that, plus another 320.
And then entered again.
Yep. And I'd be in at a lower than what I was in at.
Exactly.
So I'm like, shit. Tesla, same thing. I should have got out the day after it split. I was up $1,500. Then it fell, and I mean, I obviously averaged down, but I have yet to see that same number, even with more shares now.
Yeah.
So it's okay though. I'm
Okay.
not too worried.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. It's just I need to learn to stop doing that. But all right, well, I appreciate everything, man, as always, and I'll
Of
keep all the
course.
things you say in mind as we get into elections. I might just sit out and just kind of hold whatever I have for the meantime. I don't really see a need to jump in right now.
Well, I will say if you find something that's at a COVID low, it's worth taking a look at.
Yeah, I mean WFC when I first mentioned it to Tilio, he I think he was looking at it at the same time I was, and we both jumped in on that. And that's the one I keep averaging down right now, just because I see a lot of potential in the long term.
You know, I don't like WFC
I
personally.
hate them. Don't get me wrong. I hate them, but I know they're not going to go anywhere anytime soon.
So the one thing that made me stop playing with them, and I made money on them, but I stopped playing with WFC because they stopped doing HELOCs, and that's a worrisome sign for finance.
Uh huh.
If they're no longer doing HELOCs, that's bad because
What's
that's
that?
home equity line of credit.
Okay.
So when they stop doing those, that means that there's going to be a financial crunch potentially.
Interesting.
So they don't want to loan money out to people because they're worried people can't pay them back. And if they stop doing HELOCs, then they're not making interest off of money they loan out, and there's just a whole
Yeah.
domino effect of that.
I'm curious if that's other banks too, or just them.
They did it. I think J.P. Morgan did it, and one other one might have been Bank of America.
I'm pretty sure they're all being just conservative right now because a lot of people aren't paying rent and a lot of other things. So it makes sense as to why they don't want to do that.
Right. But that takes away from their bottom line, and I think that scared me away. I stopped doing banks. I had Bank of America, I had Wells Fargo, I had Citi. I made money on all of them, but not as much as I had hoped because I was getting a little nervous from I was in it when they announced we're not doing HELOCs anymore. I'm like, fuck, I got to get out of this. So the next pump, I think I made like $35 on one, 60 on one, and 120 on one, which is great. But my profit targets were higher than that. I had
Yeah,
two to
I'm
three
probably just
thousand
looking at
dollars
a
in
good.
each one of them, so I just got out.
Yeah, once the election finishes and we get that stem pump, that's kind of what I'm banking on for a lot of these lower guys, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, same
close out
here.
on all the positions.
I'm
I'm
in
just waiting for
same
that.
boat, and I tell you what, if uh, we need it to happen so that I can start fresh again.
Same.
I'm just sitting on all these positions, and I'm like, it's just agitating me because I'm like, I can't stand sitting here looking at something just red every day in and out. It seems like so, which is boggles my mind why I sat on 4 or 5 of these positions and didn't get out of them when I had the chance. So
You're eating too much. You're
eating,
eating too much, and you're spending too much time on your cars.
yeah, probably. I need to get out of all that.
All right, brother. Well, thank you. I'll let other people ask questions. Probably took too much time.
That's all right. All right, who else? Anybody?
I think we scared him away, huh?
No, they were. I think most people had asked most of the questions before you showed up. Anybody? I see a lot of new people. Feel free to speak up, guys or gals.
Hey, Hostel, how's it going?
Pretty good.
I was wondering if you could pull up the UPS chart and just
talk about like key support levels.
Okay.
I have a couple of 1127 180 calls. So I'm just looking at that right now.
It's at support. Give or take. Yeah, pretty close. That's about all I see. Man, this market's just I don't understand, man. Like, look at this. Earnings estimated 1.858, actual 2.28, and it went down. I don't understand.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
I've never in my life seen the market do this. If something had positive earnings, it went up. And thing is, this is better than recent or previous. You know what I mean? Like they're going up in EPS, right? It should be, it should have went up, but it didn't. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. You know, normal market conditions in the past, if something at least met estimated, the stock continued a upward trend. But now if it beats it by just a decent margin, apparently sometimes they fall. But that's my support level there. Um, that's about all I can really show you here. 154.33 roughly.
All right. Do you think that we get another stimulus before the end of the year?
I don't know, honestly. I saw McConnell say the other day that they're not going to talk about stimulus until after the new year. But that could change. I think let's just assume for a second that Trump gets in there. I think Trump's going to change his mind. I think it's really just a tactic, to be honest. Congress
Yeah,
goes
because I can't see us not getting a check before the holidays, before the big shopping season, or anything like that.
right. I mean, they know very well that people, if they don't need money, it's the best time to give it to them, so they go blow it. So Congress goes back into session the 9th. I anticipate, I mean, there's nothing for them to talk about other than stimulus. What are they going to do? Sit there for 2 months and twiddle their fingers? That's kind of what they do anyways. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But I personally think it's just a game they're playing. If Trump wins, he's gonna be like, Mitch, we need to get a stimulus bill, and it really all depends on if the Republicans keep the Senate and the Democrats lose the House, right? If it becomes all Republican, you can almost guarantee they're going to start passing stuff for the most part. If it's
Yeah.
if Senate flips to Democrat, House stays Democrat, watch them try to go after Trump and impeach him again.
Mm-hmm.
And this time they'll have the votes in the Senate to actually do it. So if they get the Senate.
Yeah. I think like this past 4 years was all Russia, 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 and I think the next 4 years will be all about the election.
Oh yeah, that he stole the election or something?
The ballots, yeah, they're gonna complain about the ballots for the next 4 years. just how the Russia thing just went on for the full 4 years.
Who knows, man?
Yeah, but thanks. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay. Who else has questions? Anybody? probably just open up the floor for random discussions. If no one else has any questions, I'll stop my screen record. Anybody? Okay. Oh, I'm going to stop my record now.